What up, thou? It's your boy, Dame. You know the business. Subscribe to Dame's World. Well, let me send this out to my people. Out the gate, let me send this out to my people. Subscribe to Dame's World. You see the topic of discussion, man. Dave Chappelle, the closer, just dropped. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. I'm sending this to all my good friends over there on Facebook. There we go. Dave Chappelle. Dave! The man. Like he said in this special, the sometimes acclaimed GOAT of this shit just dropped a Netflix special. And I must say, as a consistent fan of Dave, that when he drops his specials, he's not just giving you humor. He's giving you philosophy wrapped, entrenched in humor. So while the nigga might be saying some funny ass shit in regards to racism, sexism, gender roles, I know that's a hot topic of discussion in his last two specials. While he can make a joke out of all that shit, these are real pertinent issues in society. So in Dame's World, while we roll up, while we smoke this good weed, while we relax on this Wednesday morning, you feel me? Wake and bake essentially with the family, with the YouTube family. We just want to discuss some points, some ideas in which Dave presented to us in his sitcom. Started off talking about the vaccine, how he chose Johnson & Johnson, which was a subtle shot, you know what I'm saying? Subtle shot at the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, because we've known it to be discredited. So I don't know if he actually really even got that, or was he joking about it. But he started it off with that, making a niggerish decision by choosing Johnson & Johnson. You feel me? Personally, my opinion, it's a niggerish decision to choose any of them things, but nonetheless, he starts off with the humor and talks about him being the Magic Johnson of COVID, which he ain't the only one, as we seen Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and even regular citizens. You feel me? And while he's joking, while he claims to be the Magic Johnson of it, you got to read the underlying messages. Nigga ain't getting no symptoms, no harm, no wrongdoing while contracting COVID. As Dave Chappelle, 50-year-old black man, black comedian. You feel me? But he starts there, but he goes everywhere with it, dancing around from the baby. You feel me? Discussing how he's been blackballed in the cancel culture. And that's one thing that, to me, Dave is keeping the authenticity of comedy alive by saying things that shouldn't be said. Why? Because in the comedy community, there were no rules. There was never no rules. Go on and listen to your older tapes of Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, Paul Mooney. Rest in peace to Red Fox and Paul Mooney and Richard Pryor. All legendary comedians who never bit their tongue. You hear me? Never bit their tongue. To be real with you, the philosopher today is obsolete. You feel me? Comedians are the new era version of philosophers, just in a comedic fashion and in a way where you can actually discuss these issues. Like Dave talked about how they misconstrue his image in regards to the transgender community. He said, man, he said, I'm scared because transgenders, he said, everybody hate me, you feel me? Everybody don't fuck with me, you feel me? I'm at odds with the woman, I'm at odds with feminists, I'm at odds with the lesbians, I'm at odds with the LGBT. He said, but them them transgender niggas want me dead. But then he dives into the realm of explaining himself. Because you know, if you watch Sticks and Stones, anybody who watched Sticks and Stones, he did a couple bids in regards to the transgender community and just his ideology on it, his opinion on it, how he perceives the movement to be going. And his main gripe, essentially, he got two main gripes from what I've discerned. Primary gripe is how that movement is just expedited while this couple hundred years movement of melanated people, the black man, has been stagnant. So he said, I'm not mad or I'm not hating that community. I'm just jealous. And he references a older joke where he said, like, how is it easier for Caitlyn Jenner to change her sex than it is for Cassius Clay to change his name? And like I said, while he's throwing and employing jokes, he's giving us food. He's giving us things to understand. And even when he references the baby and what the baby said, he mentions, oh man, if you don't know, he killed a nigga in Walmart on public record. Dave Chappelle says this in his special. Like, if y'all don't know, he killed a nigga in Walmart on public record. Shout out to the baby. I don't know how that incident transpired. You feel me? I wish him well and all the love. But Dave highlighted that just to show y'all the how they, or that incident of him actually murdering somebody, killing somebody in Walmart, whether or not it was self-defense or not, that didn't hinder his career as much as him talking about the LGBT community. So, in Dave's opinion, I believe this speaks volumes towards America's ethical code. America, you can't say shit about this community, essentially, without getting canceled. And you can't say shit about the Jewish community without being canceled. Those two things our system will uphold and protect. But when it comes to the rights of the woman, when it comes to the rights of the Negro man, not so much protection, not so much of an investment. You feel me? So it's eye-opening through humor, which is why I consider Dave always to be one of the GOATs. A lot of comedians are hilarious, are funny, but not many of them put it in a philosophical realm to where after you watch his bid, you actually go home and question your own beliefs, your own thought process as to the way society rolls. He had another joke that hit home to me in regards to his he had a friend who was he had a female friend and he was real good with, a comedian, and he just calls her whenever shit pop off and go down, allegedly. So it was a female feminist march essentially going on, and he said, hey, are you going to the march? And he said that his friend said, shit, I hope all them white bitches get tear gassed. Which some people might be like, oh no, the feminist movement, you can't be. But there's underlying principles to that. As Dave explained, while Susan B. Anthony was pushing the feminist movement, Sojourner Truth was also trying to provide inclusion, being a black female, to that feminist movement. But if you study your history of Susan B. Anthony and the feminist movement, They didn't want to interwove the black woman into the feminist woman, which Dave Chappelle highlighted the "Aren't I Ain't I a Woman?" I said "Aren't" like I was a white motherfucker. "Ain't I a woman?" speech to emphasize, okay, yeah, you guys are pushing this movement, but you guys are deliberately telling black women you can't be a part of it. So every time Dave comes up, he brings it back home and he roots us to our own ethics. He makes America look themselves in the mirror, you feel me? And reflect on the type of ideologies and belief in which we have. A lot of funny jokes, a lot of funny jokes. He claimed that he'll be the male leader for feminists, which was a joke. If y'all sitting back watching that, mad, like, oh, no, you can't lead us. And that shit, that's the shit that kills me. You go click on Dave Chappelle comedy special. You should know to at least perceive that from a place of humor, from a place of the intentionality not to harm. If you think he's going up there with the intent to make everybody feel sick about themselves or hate themselves, then you're sadly and woefully mistaken. So anybody going up there to a Chappelle Show concert or clicking on his Netflix just to be mad and bitter and angry about it, exit stage left. You ain't gotta tap in. You ain't gotta watch that. You don't have to be offended. And it gets extreme, like he said in this in one of his other jokes, like a girl end up chilling with him at a bar, talking about her family, shooting the shits, but she was a fucking undercover essentially, just because she wanted to defend her transgender stance, didn't debunk his stance at all. Cause he said he was shooting the shit trying to make conversation. She pulls out a picture of her alleged daughter, and again, trying to be polite. I thought she was a polite woman, just making good conversation. She showed me her daughter, and I said, yeah, she looks nice. And then she flipped the script. She trapped him. And she was like, she's transgender, right? To try to make him look stupid. You know what I'm saying? To try to prove whatever point she had in her head to make Dave Chappelle feel like an idiot. He flipped that bitch on her immediately in the closer because he was like, I was trying to be nice. He said if I was being real in that situation, I was like, oh, look at that thick Joe Rogan neck. Is this your daughter? Is that a man? Is that a fucking man? So it's like he just highlighting and say, y'all coming up watching me and then not taking a liking to watching me after you choosing it. He gives the example by saying, look, I didn't go to this lady's car and start performing my act for her to like, in comparison to them going up to him at a random bar talking about how they dislike his shit. He said, leave that shit for the comments, bitch. I'm out. Don't come to me in real life about this shit. So you could tell throughout the whole special, he was in response to all the flack he was getting from whoever gave him the motherfucking flack. You feel me? Personally, I tip my beanie to him. You feel me? I tip my beanie to somebody keeping that authenticity in that realm of comedy. It's needed. It's release therapy. This is where niggas get on stage and talk about what they think, how they see shit, and how they feel comedically. That way, it softens the blow. Because if we do it in a comedic fashion, hopefully, we can make people laugh and enjoy themselves while addressing real issues. Because when it's not a comedic fashion and we talking about gender roles, or if we talking about pro-life and pro-choice, or if we talking about racism, all you gonna get is argumentation and fighting in the public square. So when somebody like Dave Chappelle takes the time to craft this shit the way he crafts it, and mind you, there's no writer, in my opinion, as far as comedically, ain't no writer fucking with him. So when he takes time to craft it in the way he crafts it, and all people can do is get offended, it's like, man, just reevaluate the art. Reevaluate the art with less of a triggering fashion. And he also brings up the definition of feminism. Somebody who advocates equal rights for women. And by that definition, by that standard, technically, he would be a feminist under his pretense because he advocates that rights, regardless of how he feels or how he thinks. And when it came to the transgender, he had a lot. He had excess material, excess material for the transgender. Starting with how they canceled J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter author because she said gender is a fact. Gender is a fact. Ooh, that's heavy. That's so heavy. A lot of people might be like, what the fuck? Because you might hear gender is a construct, opposed to gender is a fact. Well, in Dame's world, we're going to break down essentially what that means or what it means to him. Now, sex, if there's a distinguishing quality between sex and gender, then that distinguishing quality is we put more characterizations to gender. Like a woman is supposed to do the dishes. A woman is supposed to cook and clean. A man is supposed to get his hands dirty. So gender role simply comes with more characteristics that we associate with certain sexes. So I don't believe in gender roles. So essentially, gender is a little bit more constructed than sex. However, sex is a fact. You coming out with uh, uh, male qualities physically. You have a penis. You have a certain jawline structure, bone structure that distinguishes you from another entity in which we deem the female. Those things are fixed. Those are truths within the universe. You're born either male, female, hermaphrodite. You feel me? So transgender can't claim to be this form of woman, the woman in its purest form. Now, that's not to say transgender ain't a woman. They could be a form of woman that has transformed into a woman. With all respect, I'll call you whatever you want to call. But if we're getting technical with the truth of the matter, you are not a born woman. Get offended all you want. That's the thing. Facts over feelings. A lot of people get their emotions wrapped up in comments in which they want to cancel culture because of these comments. But at the essence, we not finna dismiss factual information for a motherfucker's feeling about something. Oh, he said I wasn't a true woman. I'm offended. What is a true woman? From birth, out the womb, you have a vagina in which you can reproduce. This was gifted to you by somebody outside of the male construct. Ain't no surgery for this. You just came out as such in your essence. Same way I came out male. So reverting back to gender is a fact. If we align gender with sex solely and we strip those characterizations that humans gave to different genders, or a man is supposed to know how to change a tire. These things are fictitious. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the human's association to what a male should do. But the actuality of being male from birth or being female from birth, that's a fact. So if they're interchanging gender with sex, if that's what J.K. Rowling and Dave meant, 100%. 100%. And then his joke is, look, like women have a pussy. He said in the trans, I mean, they got a pussy, but well, and that shit was perfectly understood. He said they shit is more like Beyond pussy or Impossible pussy, like the Beyond burgers and the Beyond meat. Like, okay, it's imitation, it's the form, but it's not exactly at essence the same as that one. And who do we have to lie to? Who do we have to try to justify that to? To somebody that might be more emotionally invested than logically invested. Because logically, that shit is analogous to Beyond Meat. Because Beyond Meat is not meat. No matter how much it wants to claim meat, an Impossible Burger is not a burger made out of meat. No matter how much it wants to jump around and try to claim that it is meat, it's like meat. A transgender woman is like a woman in a sense, but it is not a woman. Or a transgender woman. You should. I don't know why that's something that someone would be offended by when it's the actuality of the truth. And Dave conceded, shit. Hey, I might be transphobic. Dave conceded he might be transphobic. He mentioned the bathroom scene of a tranny hopping in the bathroom and pissing right next to him. He said, shit, I would be alarmed. I would be worried if I seen the motherfucking big ass, feminine looking, masculine looking ass feminine pissing right next to me in the stalls. Yes, it would be pretty alarming to me. So he didn't backtrack completely, but he established the pretenses. This is not coming from a place of hate. This is coming from a place of two things: misunderstanding and jealousy. I don't understand exactly the identification as a woman when you weren't born a woman. The same way he said in Sticks and Stones, he was like, hey, what if I came with this big old nigga body and said I identify as an Asian now? And then I did my eyes like this and said, hey, I'm now, and I start mimicking the acts of a. Y'all wouldn't like that as much, do you? Motherfuckers can just identify with things that they didn't come out as essence. So his pretenses of misunderstanding and a little bit of envy. Because if you're a black melanated person or if you're a female in this society, you've seen the ball get pushed at a slower rate when it comes to the equity and equality realm of things. The transgender push is more accepted, which the thing is, I'm for everybody's struggle. Everybody's struggle and their plight should be heard, should be respected, should be treated in an equitable fashion. However, I'm not going to play oblivious to who's constantly getting ignored with their plight and possibly with an even more strenuous plight. Because when you talk about systemic and institutional racism, these laws, all of them, they weren't deliberately to suppress transgender people. Some of them are. Some of them definitely are, like the whole bathroom scenario Dave Chappelle pointed out. Other marriage laws. There's definitely discriminatory laws against transgender women and men. However, you look from the rooter to the tutor of how this system was constructed, everything damn near was based on racial implications in regards to economically, politically, how laws were created, how we're even dispersed in this material realm, getting redlined. So after 300, 400, 500 years of this oppression, and you still see it still lasting, and then you see a movement coming along maybe in 1960s, 70s, slowly, and then picking up wind. And now the way it's being pushed and moved, it's moving past all the other movements that have been here for years. Sexism in the workforce still prevalent. Racism in the workforce still prevalent. They're all getting discriminated against, Let's not get it twisted. And that's one of the other things. I don't like to, even though I'm doing it right now, I don't like to compare suffrage. You know what I'm saying? Suffrage is suffrage. But at some point, at some point, you a black man in America and you seeing a baton pass while you haven't moved. It's like, okay, when do we start talking about this system that keeps neglecting our voice? He mentioned Bruce Jenner winning Woman of the Year in her first year becoming a woman. If that ain't disrespectful, then I don't know what is. His analogy, of course, we said, okay, that's like motherfucker uh, being at an award show and them saying, okay, for the nigga of the year, Eminem. Eminem winning Black Man of the Year type shit. It's like, no, this shit ain't gonna fly. And if you can get uh transracial, if there is a transgender, then the transracial shouldn't be too far off the spectrum. If somebody want to identify with another ethnic group and a culture, why can't they? You got to start asking these things because it's like, okay, if this is permitted, then what else can be permitted? You feel me? Because you have some people, this is the thing, this is where it gets tricky. You have some people who truly feel and identify as such. And then you have some people who might be using it for exploitation purposes. Uh, I'm not saying for certain that this might be the case, but there was a cyclist a couple of years ago, transgender cyclist, and once he transformed into a woman, he began participating in cycling at a Olympic level. And he became the best Olympic female cyclist already. Now, prior to this, the nigga wasn't cycling as a male. And then once he changes his gender, now he chooses to perform at a high level and capacity. This can present that dilemma the niggas was talking about. Dave Chappelle was talking about when he said, okay, so if LeBron want to change his gender, can he just go to the WNBA and drop 694 points? Because we're not going to be delusional to the tangible realities. As far as the male's anatomical structure, we bigger. We end up quicker and stronger based on those pretenses. Our uh, physical capabilities alone in the realm of athletics, reign supreme over females. Same way, I'm not ashamed to say the physical capabilities of melanated beings reign supreme over uh, fail melanated beings. You feel me? You watch throughout the sports, black people dominate sports. Males are better at sports than females. Generally, don't try to use Serena Williams to the worst male tennis player in history. Yeah, I understand the exceptions and the anomalies and the outliers. But on a general spectrum, males are better at females than sports based on their anatomical, biological predisposition. Same way, women, they have crafty hands. Like they have smaller hands. This is what they learned in the 50s when niggas was being sent to war, and then women had to put on them workers' boots and go out there in the field and help the economy in regards to working. You feel me? The working woman rose about in the 50s based on the history. And then that came to discover the benefits in which they have as far as crafting. Women are better crafters because of their hands and the predisposition in which they exist at. I think they have a more keen sense of breaking down something and making it uh, artsy, so to say. Like if you make a meal, a woman will put a flour on the meal, woman will organize it in a mathematical composition to where the plate look beautiful before you even eat it. Whereas a nigga, he just gonna throw the steak on there. The mashed potatoes might be leaning on the steak, the corn dripping off the plate, but it's food nonetheless. This is like the capacity in which differs from the male and the female. A nigga goes shopping for black jeans, he get in there 10 minutes and get black jeans. A woman goes shopping for jeans, black jeans. They look at every color of black. They look at every jean. They circle through the aisles, and then they might not even get no jeans by the end of the shit after 2 hours. Anybody who's shopped with women, let me know if I'm tripping. But it's just those distinguishing qualities that we have to be alert for when we see transgender men, transgender men coming into sports. Excuse me. Loud pack on deck. That loud pack on deck. We put it out for a water break. I think another good point that he had was investing into a construct. Just because this is the herd mentality, sheepish mentality. Investing into a construct just because it's the thing to do type shit. His example was a black man somehow getting uh somehow getting free from enslavement, and then he's climbing up that economic ladder, and guess what this nigga do? He goes and gets slaves for himself. And he said, how could a nigga how could a nigga dare, after acknowledging and feeling that suffrage, turn around and invest in slaves in the suffrage of other people that look just like him? And then he references, oh, this is just an investment in the construct of success. He's seen everybody around him who was successful climbing up that economic ladder, owning slaves, doing certain things that entailed or that emitted power or emitted uh, financial stability. Therefore, if I'm one of these people, I might as well keep up with the Joneses. That shit hit me hard because you see it today. It's just not as easy to see. If you can see a nigga owning slaves and you can point that out as being somebody uh, going into an ill construct. But today it's no different. The way we value the dollar, we look at homelessness or we look at people who have shortcomings financially as lesser than people who have climbed up the economic ladder. So classism today, when you partake in getting a new Beamer because you know you made a couple more dollars and now a nigga with a Honda is not on your level. We unconsciously partake in the construct of success without even knowing. Undermining and demeaning people that are not in our class or not in our race is what we do unconsciously a lot of the time, just for the sake of being cool. That bandwagon effect is a bitch. That bandwagon effect is a bitch. Dave also said that this was gonna be his last show in a minute, and niggas could tell why. Because he's gonna receive the same type of flack from the same type of people who might not be privy to hearing jokes that they don't like. And that's the thing. I seen a nigga in the crowd. It was a nigga in the crowd like the whole time Dave was joking. He was just white man. I seen a white man and a white woman in different sections of the crowd. It looked like they didn't like no jokes that went down, which is okay. You feel me? Shit is arbitrary. Some of these jokes not gonna hit you if you can't relate. But in the same breath, how do you stay there? Niggas got that fear of getting up and getting their ass flamed. That's why most of the niggas stayed there. But to stay there and just scoff at everything and critique and not like, it's like, man, if I don't like something on TV, I'm gonna change the channel. I'm not gonna sit up there and scoff at it and ridicule it and allow my existence to be inflicted upon essentially by everything this nigga say. You feel me? Because he said, look, he said, if you watch my shit clearly, he said, if you watch my shit clearly, I have no problem with transgender people. I have a problem with white people. And then he says, like, he had an incident in a fucking restaurant with a transgender person, and they tried to set him up, and he said, you know what? Fuck you, you bitch ass nigga. You feel me? And the nigga called the cops, and he said, you know why I got a problem with that? Because the nigga was a minority as a transgender, but then he turned white as soon as some conflict arose. He went and dialed 911 and tried to use his white privilege within that minority status as a transgender male. So his gripe was more so transgender white males uh, claiming discrimination with the privilege that they have. And to Dave, it sounds like it's undermining those who are minorities and don't have that alternative option to jump and be white man again. You feel me? Which is something to be understood. Like he said, they were not hearing me. And that's the thing about understanding and coming together and having these type of talks. It's about communicating through how you see things and how you feel about the situation. It's a duality to humans. We got ration and we have emotion. So they just let niggas know, look, hey, the reason why I be on this tangent is for a couple reasons, nigga. You feel me? You can't just call this a woman, and we've established that female is a fixed situation. Male is a fixed situation. Like if a cougar behaves like a lion, and it could be predisposition. It could be predisposed. This is how they naturally behave. If a cougar behaves like a lion, we not finna call that nigga a lion no more, because the universe gave us the predispositions to different essences. Therefore, we gave the label to those essences. That label don't come before the essence. So the essence of a cougar is always going to be a cougar, no matter how it feels it is or how it chooses to act. Let's say a cougar just got raised by lions somehow. You feel me? That cougar might learn to think that they are a lion, or maybe innately that cougar always thought they were a lion. Because again, me saying that it was learned through learned behavior, that's dismissive to how we are at essence. I don't think I learned to be who I am. I think I was always who I am. The environment could have shaped me away or towards my liking, but I am who I am. Once you actualize, I don't think outside influence can really stagnate or get to you. So I say that to say, whether it's the cougar, you feel me, chilling amongst lions and thinking and aligning with the lions, that could be through nature or nurture. Sexuality, in my opinion, could be through nature or nurture. Sexual identification could be through nature or nurture. Now, here's the twist: you are nature. The nurture is outside of you, but you are nature. So, if people are acting through their own nature, they can't be influenced by the nurture around them. If it if it juxtaposes who they are naturally. So, what I mean by that is, if a male was around all hyper masculine males their whole life, but he just didn't like that type of shit. He was more feminine. He was more off putting when it came to sports, and he rather chill with the woman and do what they do inside of the house rather than hang with the boys. And he always thought men were cute, even though he was around hyper masculine males who always talked about women. You feel me? So this is a person whose nurture told him to be heterosexual. but his nature may have always been homosexual. For me and Dane's word, in my opinion, it's like be who you are naturally. To me, that's the source made you as you are. Source, God, whatever you want to call it. So acting in accordance to with how the source made you is the ultimate act of following the source, following God, following that higher conscience that created you to be such a way. Now the mind can be manipulated. The mind can be distorted with ideas to make them think that they are something that they are not. Some people might act heterosexual and be gay just because they were taught through their construct to be this. But naturally, they always were gay. They always liked man or they always liked woman. My game is getting to the source. So yes, I believe uh, some transgender male or females naturally felt that way. But I also believe some transgender male and females may have been influenced. The same way I think some heterosexual man or woman may have been influenced by society to be heterosexual. The same way I think some homosexual men and women were influenced by society to be homosexual or their upbringing. That's nature versus nurture. It's very simple. So it's not a straight line either way. I know y'all like to think. This is what y'all like to think. To me, it's idiocracy. Y'all not idiots, but to me, it's idiocracy to think this way. Oh man, it ain't natural. Homosexuality, it ain't natural. Natural is subjective. What's natural for you might not be natural to somebody right next to you with their identification. So, sexual preference to naturally identify, that's to have an inclination, a feeling of arousal when you're encountering another subject. That's a natural inclination. So, at a young age, this is from my remembering, at a young age, I liked women. At a young age, without having to be indoctrinated by society as far as little nigga, you gonna like woman, you gonna this is who you are, you a man, you supposed to. I was like 3 or 4. Looking at the female anatomy and the female essence and the way of being, I was like, okay, I know what I like. You don't think there were no gay people like that? So when you say it's not natural, what you mean is it's not natural for you. Like homosexuality is not my natural state. But that's not to say that it's not the natural state of human existence. Human existence consists of flux, consists of change, consists of differentiation, consists of individuality. You don't think there was not one human who was born homosexual? Look at the animal realm. If you look into the animal realm, there's homosexuality in the animal realm. Is that solely by indoctrination of their environment? Or are some animals just more privy to humping on the same sex, being physically attracted or energetically attracted to the same sex? And I see in kids the level of masculinity and the level of femininity in them and the attraction in which they gravitate to. You can see in kids what they are geared towards if you pay attention to the kids. So kids be 5 years old and they want to, or they don't want to do anything. Excuse me. They are acting in opposition with the way we were taught that their sex was supposed to act. That's where we get masculinity and femininity from. We associate those to male qualities, masculine, and we associate the female qualities to feminine. It's that simple. So when somebody is acting in opposition, let's say Young M.A. moves like a dude. You feel me? People might say, "Oh, she's the church." Church might say she's living out of order. But if that's who she always was naturally, to me, she's in order. She's living in her essence and she's living as the source created her to be. If you feel like a woman, you thought you were always a woman and you got a male body, then go be a woman. in your subjective reality. There's still a tangible truth to things, though. You can't say you are exactly like that woman who came out with a vagina at birth and you came out with a penis at birth. You're a woman in feeling and in thought. You feel me? But the tangible truth is you were a male. You came out as a male that transformed into the female tangible form of a woman. That's just how I feel. You feel me? You know, in Dave's world, ain't no right, ain't no wrong. But that's just how I feel, or how I think, rather. Because the feelings they be removed a lot of the times when I uh, delegate, talk my shit. Because at the end of the day, we're on a whole different plane of ration, logic, reasoning, in which we can discuss opinions and the ideologies of one another without getting emotionally attached, without getting offended, without uh, wanting to refute or debunk the opposition's point. I think that shit was dope that Dave Chappelle told that story about him and his transgender friend and how they had a discussion as far as the disagreements. It's into well, not disagreements, but his opinion and how he sees things opposed to her opinion and how she sees things. End of the day, none of them are definitively right as to how they see things. But you can establish pretenses that are true in all of our reality, like the pretense of sex being a fact. Coming out male, coming out female, that is not a choice of anybody's. That's a predisposition. The same way coming out a cougar is different from coming out a lion. You feel me? The same way coming out black is different from coming out white. You can set pretenses to establish your conclusion on things. But at the end of the day, your conclusion on things is not definitive because based on those pretenses, uh, once you conclude something, it's still going to elude certain shit. You feel me? Other pretenses that somebody could make. And even with those pretenses, you can formulate different conclusions. It's not going to always deductive reasoning is not always going to force you to rest at one conclusion, even though deductive reasoning can do that. Which is why when we have these discussions, we have to realize the beauty of being wrong. Like nobody knows. The beauty of being wrong is understanding that your perspective is just not universally correct. So if you assume wrongness to it, then it can promote or provoke growth. Very simple. On Amazon, on Facebook, or not Facebook, excuse me. The beauty of being wrong on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and personally, I can inscribe and autograph you a copy. I got tons of copies left. You feel me? Piece of work, and it aligns with what Dave was talking about in regards to us being able to talk about this shit. Because people won't. Cancel culture consists of it's alliteration. Cancel culture consists of not discussing discussing issues that divide us. Oh, he's talking about this. This is his take and his opinion. Well, even though you cancel him, that's not going to change his take and his opinion and the amount of people that represent that take and opinion, in which is going to have an indifference about something that is pushed through the paradigm. So cancel culture, I disagree with cancel culture. Go arrest niggas doing hate crimes. Go incriminate motherfuckers who are actually professing the racism that these motherfuckers talk about when they on their artistic platforms. Now, if somebody is saying kill a nigga, kill a nigga, kill a nigga, kill a nigga on a song, okay, that can subconsciously influence somebody to do a hate crime. So I'm not with uh, that type of art that might be inflicting hate on somebody from a different culture or just somebody, period. However, our paradigm don't give a fuck about that. You can say kill a nigga, kill a nigga, kill a nigga, kill a nigga all day. Like you said, the baby could talk about chipping a nigga or actually chip a nigga. While as soon as he mentions or spews out an insult toward the LGBTQ community, he's canceled. So it's like, where are the values and where are the priorities morality wise? to where, okay, motherfucker put a Molly in her drink and she ain't even know it. I enjoyed that and she ain't even know it. Rick Ross ain't canceled. That's talking about rape. So it's selective canceling. when you talk about when you talk about the Jewish culture and the elitist Jews, they say you anti-Semitic, excuse me, anti-Semitic, and they cancel you. When you start talking about the LGBTQ community, you might get canceled. You talk about killing niggas all day on your track, you might get number one on the Billboard charts. You talking about never fall in love with a bitch? I don't love a hoe. Fuck a bitch. Uh, don't love a bitch. Might be number one on the charts. So it's very, very selective with the cancel culture. And for me, oh, as long as it's the Constitution, back to the Constitution, as long as it doesn't inflict on somebody's rights or well-being, I say shit, let it fly. But I think as a people, this is what we must do. We must not be reliant on the TV or the mainstream media to give us the music for us to listen to. Because if they're going to be consistent with perpetuating certain paradigms, we have to be consistent with making sure we don't just follow and align with them blindly without the agreement of establishing certain shit. Like why are y'all letting musicians talk about rape and killing black people all day, but then when they talk about uh homosexuality or the Jewish community, you're vehemently against it? Why isn't it not an equal playing field in that regard? You feel me? So yeah, essentially that there could be some forms of regulation in regards to how people express themselves artistically. That's what I would think and believe. You got a song talking about uh assassinating all women and shit, then okay, no, we're not no. That doesn't get no radio play. Matter of fact, you canceled. You're done. You feel me? The infliction of someone's will. It's that simple. In Dame's world. That's just the ethical code. Like you ain't inflicting on somebody's will and you wanna be what you wanna be. You wanna act like a lion, you wanna act like a dinosaur like the nigga on Step Brothers. You wanna express yourself how you do it. As long as it's not inflicting on another person's will. Soon as it inflicts on another person's will, don't do it. Don't be in a concert saying, okay, sock every motherfucking white boy in the crowd. You got a microphone and you tell that's inciting the riot, bro. You shouldn't do that. You can't do that. We should regulate around that. But somebody on a stage talking about, man, I don't know. I don't know about whatever it is they talking about. Just expressing their opinion. But it's a fine line. It's a fine line of that and what's provocative, what's provoking harm. I think Dave Chappelle when he performed, he knows he gonna make niggas cringe. Like he tell niggas out the gate, he said, "Oh man, wait, it gets worse." He talked about a lot of shit. He talked about a lot of shit. Some things that I didn't like, but that's immaterial as to how I was triggered. At the end of the day, I'm not letting anything in that form of comedic expression hurt me or make me feel bad in the long run. Niggas can't help how their triggers are. That's one thing y'all should know. You get triggered by a nigga's response, that is a natural element of you in the time and space in which you exist. You can't help that. You can't help when you get triggered, but you can help how you react after the trigger and how you uh, identify and root how that trigger even came about. You feel me? Because I got triggered what he talked about uh, some pedophilic shit. As far as him getting head from a priest, yeah, that wasn't too funny to me. You feel me? Yeah, like, but at the end of the day, he's joking. Nigga is up there telling jokes. That's the thing, man. Emotional intelligence. For you to get offended by a nigga doing stand up on Netflix and what you chose to watch and now hurt from it, it's just indicative of the self awareness and how uh, finicky one's own grounds may be. Because if somebody outside of you can say a certain thing on a Netflix special that would make you feel a certain way about yourself, then to me it implies not a strong sense of who self is. Because when Dave Chappelle talk about, I don't know, shit, happen to talk about black nigga in their 20s living the type of life in which I live, and him scoffing at it or not liking it, hey, that's on him. It's on you to have a problem with me, bruh. But at the end of the day, I like who I am. So when you come to that state of being, it's not a lot of need to defend your position. It's not a lot of need to defend self. But with that being said, we are hour deep. That's just my opinion on the special. I thought it was fire. I thought the nigga was hilarious as usual. I think he's the best writer. As far as best comedian of all time, I can't give him that already. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I like to pay respects to everybody, even doing that type of thing in that field. Stand up comedy, that shit is another thing in itself that I respect. So, but there's a lot of people, a lot of under the radar comedians. You feel me? That just are hilarious in their right. So, but best writer, as far as telling a story and oh yeah, I think Dave is the best writer comically. Cause you got somebody like Keenan Ivory Wayne who write movies, good movies. How High was pretty funny. I liked How High could do was kind of funny, but the storyline, Duke shoot. But nonetheless, that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts. The closer, how do y'all feel about him responding? And he said he ain't gonna do no more jokes about the community. So most you niggas who feel some type of way when Dave Chappelle do stand up, y'all can relax now. There ain't no more jokes. And he said he gonna be done with stand up for a minute. But you got the closer, Sticks and Stones, and like three other specials that he did in the last 4 or 5 years. So niggas should honestly be grateful. Be grateful that one of the greats is giving out content like this for you to dissect. Some of you niggas might watch it once and never watch it again. You got a Picasso in your house. You got a Picasso in your motherfucking room. You might look at it one day and get a perspective out of it, then come back to it and look at it another way and get a whole nother perspective out of it. It's the same way as Dave Chappelle shit. You might watch that shit from one light, get a perspective out of it in your teens, 20s, and then a couple of years later, you come to a new point of cognition, and now you're like, damn, that shit, I low key, I fuck with this shit a little more, or I don't fuck with this shit a little more. It's art. It's ambiguous. But with that being said, we are hour deep. It's your boy Dave, man. Much love to everybody joining the live. I'll tap in with more content later. You know how it go.